Quality code, as I indicated before, is what was level 3 and has been pulled out into a separate quality code and will apply, as I indicated at the beginning, to every site, or can apply, voluntary, to every site that is already certified or is seeking certification to primary manufacturing, storage and distribution, or food packaging. And that's all applicable from 2nd of January 2018. Let me just add to that previously in the SQF code, the current one, 7.2, as I said, really it was just an extension. The SQF Food Safety Code is still a platform, but the SQF Quality Code goes beyond what was previously level 3. Moving along. And the SQF Quality Code is divided into 2 sections. Part A, again, is as usual with the food safety codes and with the current 7.2 edition. Part A is how you prepare, implement, and retain certification to the SQF Quality Code. Part 2, Part B, if you like, is the system elements. And it lists them there: management commitment, document control and records, specifications and product development, food quality system verification, product identification, trace, withdrawal and recall, food fraud, identity preserved foods, and training. Now again, with food safety, the food safety code still being the platform, the quality code does build on some of those elements, but it also adds to what is currently in the level 3 code. To meet the requirements of the SQF Quality Code, as indicated, they must be certified to one of the following: primary production, manufacturing, distribution, packaging. Now, as I said at the beginning, the food safety audit and quality audit can be carried out concurrently. That includes the initial certification audit, but if the site does not pass the food safety code, it won't get the quality code. So to be certified to the SQF Quality Code, sites must be certified or concurrently audited to the food safety code. So they must meet that plus and apply all the additional elements of the SQF Quality Code. Part 1 is, again, preparing for certification. Part A, Section 1, how to achieve SQF Food Safety Certification, to learn about the SQF Quality Code, and there's nothing relatively new in there. How to register on the SQF Assessment Database. There is no additional registration for sites applying for the SQF Quality Code, but they must maintain their existing registration in the SQF Assessment Database. The designation of an SQF Quality Practitioner. And just a little bit more detail on that. The SQF Quality Practitioner can be the existing food safety practitioner, SQF Food Safety Practitioner. But every site must have a qualified SQF Quality Practitioner to oversee development, implementation, review, and maintenance of the SQF quality system, including the food quality plans. And I'll go through in a second what the additional requirements for a quality practitioner are. The voluntary adoption of the SQF quality systems training, again, it's voluntary, it's recommended as it is with food safety, but it is not mandatory. Documentation and implementation of the SQF quality code, selection of a certification body, and conducting pre-assessment audits. Just touching on multi-site, by the way, I need to point out that the SQF quality code applies only to central sites within a multi-site program, not to sub-sites. And within each of the food safety and fundamentals and quality code documents, you will find an appendix at the end which prescribes the requirements for multi-site certification. They have changed slightly from 7.2, so anyone involved with multi-sites, I would suggest that you need to just refer to any of the codes. which, by the way, are freely available as PDFs on the SQF website. So the SQF Quality Practitioner, and it's in System Elements in 2.1.2.4. Senior Site Management shall designate an SQF Quality Practitioner for each site with responsibility to overseeing the development, implementation, review, and maintenance of the SQF quality system, take appropriate action to ensure the integrity, communicate to relevant personnel all information essential to ensure the effective implementation and maintenance of the SQF quality system, and ensure that site personnel have the required competencies to carry out these functions. So the bullet points 1 and 2 there are similar to what's in food safety, as is the third one, but communicate to relevant personnel the effective implementation and maintenance of the SQF quality system, not just food safety, and also to ensure that site personnel have the required competencies to carry out those functions affecting product quality. 2.1.2.5, the requirements for an SQF quality practitioner. In addition to the SQF Food Safety Code requirements, so the SQF Quality Practitioner must meet the practitioner requirements in the relevant SQF Food Safety Code, must be competent to implement and maintain HACCP-based food quality plans, as against food safety, have an understanding of the SQF Quality Code, doesn't necessarily need to have attended quality training, but needs to have an understanding of the SQF Quality Code and the requirements to implement and maintain quality management system, and be competent in statistical process control and/or other quality tools to reduce process variation and drive root cause analysis of nonconformities. So be competent in whatever quality tools are being used and applied within that facility, within that site, to reduce process variation and also to drive root cause analysis of nonconformities. And that, again, I guess, is the new part of the requirements for quality practitioners. So again, quality practitioners can be an SQF practitioner, but to be a quality practitioner, in other words, if the quality code is being applied, then they need those additional requirements as well. Or alternatively, the SQF quality practitioner can be a separate person, but again needs those requirements. In part 2, quality, initial quality certification, selection of SQF quality auditors, scope of certification, etc., etc. Headings there much the same as we have in the food safety codes, but the detail is a little bit different. Scope of certification is the same as the site's certification to the SQF Food Safety Code. So whatever products are in but that applies to the site as well. You can't change the boundaries of the site for quality certification versus food safety. So the site and products in quality certification must be the same as the site product and site certification scopes in the SQF Food Safety Code. Any agreed exemptions from food safety are also exempted from quality certification. The scope of quality certification cannot be extended or changed from the food safety certification. And the scope of certification, as with the Food Safety Code, cannot be changed during or immediately following a certification audit of the SQF Quality Code. And again, this is similar to the Food Safety Code's exempted parts of the site cannot be promoted as being covered by certification to the Food Safety Code, to the SQF Quality Code. Initial certification audit, we've really covered this. It can either be an extension of an existing certification or recertification audit. In this instance, certification to the SQF Quality Code should only be granted, and successful certification to the SQF Food Safety Code. Or it can be a standalone audit conducted at any time during the currency of the site's certification to the SQF Food Safety Code. The certification audit shall, in all cases, be a combined desk and site audit, and shall ensure that. I'm not sure whether we've got that in there. So the certification audit shall, in all cases, be a combined, for the quality code, combined desk and facility audit. Audit duration guide will vary depending on whether it is an independent audit or a combined audit. I think I've just repeated that. Yeah. Basically, the audit duration guide, has someone got a copy of it open? I just want to make sure I've got that covered properly. Let me just reflect back on the audit duration guide. What we are saying in here, I don't know whether you can still see my screen. As a guide, SQFI expects a certification audit to the SQF quality code combined with a food safety code audit to add a minimum of half a day, while a standalone quality certification audit will be a minimum of 1 day. So I should have that on the slides. We'll make that correction. But as a guide, minimum of half day for an additional, for a combined audit, and a minimum of 1 day where it's a standalone audit. Okay, all applicable elements of the SQF code shall be assessed as part of the quality system audit. Where an element is not applicable and appropriately justified, it shall be stated as not applicable by the SQF quality audit in the audit report. There are no mandatory elements within the SQF quality code. They're all applicable or not applicable elements. In the quality code, we don't call them non-conformances, we call them quality deviations, which seems to be a term that is more consistent and recognizable by many of our sites. Minor quality deviation is an omission or deficiency in the quality system that produces unsatisfactory conditions that, if not addressed, may lead to a quality threat, but not likely to cause a system element breakdown. Major quality deviation is an omission or deficiency in the quality system, producing unsatisfactory conditions that carry significant quality threat and are likely to result in a system element breakdown. There are no critical deviations considered as part of the quality system audit. Initial certification decision. A certification body, as with the Food Safety Code, is responsible for deciding whether or not certification is justified and granted based on the objective evidence provided by the SQF quality auditor. There's no score or rating issued for SQF quality systems audits. And sites are deemed to have successfully implemented the SQF code if the site achieves and maintains its SQF food safety certification, and the site closes out all quality deviations within 30 days. So successful completion of the quality audit is based on food safety certification being achieved or maintained, and all non-conformances closed out within all minor and major non-conformances or deviations, as we call them, closed out within 30 days. These are the only requirements. The use of the SQF Quality Shield still applies to the Quality Code and only to the Quality Code. And you'll find the requirements for the use or non-use of the SQF Quality Shield included as an appendix at the back of the SQF Quality Code. You'll only find it in the Quality Code. The SQF Quality Shield will also be on the certificate that's issued with the successful quality audit. And certified sites may choose or not to apply the SQF Quality Shield to packaging or certified products in the marketplace. Very little change, by the way, to the requirements for use of the SQF Quality Shield, but it only applies to sites that have successfully, in Edition 8, have successfully completed certification to the SQF Quality Code. Recertification. To maintain SQF quality certification, the site is required to maintain certification of the SQF Food Safety Code. That's a given. If they lose the SQF Food Safety certification, they also lose quality certification. Ensure that quality surveillance and or quality recertification audits occur within the required time frame, and ensure that all quality deviations are corrected within the time frame specified. There is a question here from Jeff Strout, on why there is no score for the quality code audit. We feel that they are going to get a more objective review of the quality requirements within the SQF quality code if there is no score or rating. We also feel that many people, and many sites, beg your pardon, currently don't apply for level 3 because they feel that it is an additional impost, an additional opportunity for a lower score within their combined level 3 audit. So we're trialing this system where it is purely based on closing out non-conformances. Again, the whole principle of accredited certification is that the auditor raises non-conformances, the site closes them out, and continuously improves their requirement. So that is that's the basis that we're taking here. The surveillance audit is only conducted. This is the quality surveillance audit is only conducted when the site has 2 or more major deviations and or 10 or more minor deviations raised at a certification and recertification audit. And as normal, the quality surveillance audit shall be conducted within 30 calendar days at the site of the 6-month anniversary of the last day of the previous certification audit. And again, all deviations must be closed out within 30 days to achieve or maintain certification. So the surveillance audit only applies to the quality component if when the site has 2 or more majors or 10 or more and or 2 or more minor deviations. Obligations of site and certification bodies. Again, this is consistent with the format and structure in the food safety codes. When a site changes the scope of its food safety certification, the scope of its quality certification also changes. The certification body may need to conduct a quality audit of the additional process or products and may either issue a new certificate. In other words, the scope in terms of site and product is always consistent with the food safety code, and if there are changes in the food safety code, food safety certification, there have to be the similar changes to the quality certification. So in terms of scope, product and site, the food safety code and the quality code always have to be consistent. So into the system elements for define what causes a surveillance audit, Bob, is if 2 or more majors and or 10 or more minor deviations occur at a certification or recertification audit. The system elements, management commitment through to training, and we'll go through some of those in summary. Quality policy is similar to the food safety policy. The senior site management shall develop quality objectives under management responsibility by which quality performance is measured. The quality policy may be, just going back to 211, the quality policy may be combined with or independent of the food safety policy, but must equally also be displayed. In 2122, under management responsibility, the senior site management shall develop quality objectives and a process by which quality performance is measured. Again, under 212, senior site management shall develop and implement a quality communication program, how quality objectives and quality performance are going to be applied within the site and communicate that. Senior site management, Bob. I'll come to corporate quality audits in a second. No, actually, I'll cover it now. Yes, there will be. The requirements for corporate audits applies to the quality code as well as the food safety code. Senior site communication program we've covered. Senior site management shall establish a process to trend progress in quality performance against agreed measures. And similar to the food safety code, senior site management and quality practitioners shall meet to review the implementation and maintenance of the quality system at least monthly. Complaint management, crisis management is much the same, except the focus there is on quality issues and control of quality complaint issues and the consideration of quality attributes in crisis management planning. Documentation and records, the quality manual or quality management system, again, may be integrated with the food safety management system or separate. It can be incorporated into it, or it can be independent, whatever suits the particular site. It shall include summary of the organization's quality policies, methods that will apply, the policy statement and site organizational chart, list of products covered under the scope of certification, finished product specifications agreed with customers or corporate quality requirements where applicable, and statistical process control methods and other quality tools that are used to control and reduce process variation. Under specification and product development, the methods for designing, developing, and converting product concepts to commercial realization shall include process capability analysis to ensure that processes are able to consistently supply products that meet customer specifications. And that's an important addition. Finished product specifications shall be documented, current, approved by the site and their customers. Accessible to relevant staff, which will include product quality attributes, service delivery requirements, and labeling and packaging requirements. Contract service providers, contract manufacturers, much the same as in the food safety codes, except the consideration is the impact on quality and quality attributes. Food quality system, I'm going to cover a little bit of this, but the detailed coverage of the food quality plan and food quality system verification will be included in Section 6, so we'll cover that shortly. But the 2.4 covers the customer requirements, quality fundamentals, the approved supplier program, non-conforming product or equipment, the impact of product rework, and positive product release. So in terms of 241, customer requirements and expectations of customers and final consumers, continual review to ensure the accuracy of specifications and the ability to supply to customer needs. Full review of customer expectations shall occur annually. Procedure 2412, procedure to notify essential customers where their ability to supply product that meets customer specifications is temporarily suspended or halted. Where customer products, materials, or equipment are used within the site shall have measures in place to safeguard customer property and ensure its correct and proper use. That is a new element within the quality code. Approved supplier program, materials selected and approved on the basis of their ability to meet quality specifications. Product release, site shall document and implement a positive product release procedure to ensure that at the time of delivery to its customer, its first customer, the food supplied complies with all agreed customer requirements, including but not limited to product specifications, packaging, etc. Now, I'm rushing through this because we've got a number of slides to get through. We've got roughly an hour left, but obviously there's each point in in this section is open to discussion with members of the class. Food quality system verification, again, I'll cover in section 6 when I go through HACCP for quality, but just looking at product identification, labeled to agreed customer, company, or corporate requirements. I visited one of the local retailers here yesterday, and one of their big 5, their drive for 5, is labeling. Wrong product in the wrong label. So it's something that we are focusing on, that we intend to continue focusing on to make sure that we're auditing labeling processes and that finished product is labeled, as well as to regulatory requirements, which is under food safety, to agreed customer, company, or corporate requirements. And product changeover procedures shall include quality attributes required to meet finished product specifications. Food fraud and 2.8, identity preserved foods. Food fraud vulnerability assessment shall include the site's susceptibility to ingredient or product substitution, mislabeling, dilution, or counterfeiting that could adversely impact food quality. Food fraud within the food safety codes covers food fraud as it relates to food safety issues. Here, we're looking at it as it could adversely impact food quality. So basically, food fraud is covered in both the food safety code and the quality code. And 2.8, identity preserved foods, basically covers all the issues that are currently within the 7.2 food safety, SQF code 7.2 on identity preserved foods and their management and control. So everything that is currently in 7.2 has been moved into 2.8 in the quality code. And training requirements, again, much the same as they are in food safety, except it relates to quality rather than food safety. And the only real change here is the 2921, the employee training program, shall include the necessary competencies for food-specific duties and the training methods to be applied for those staff carrying out tasks associated with process control and monitoring of critical quality points, CQPs, steps identified as critical to the effective implementation of the food quality plan, and product inspection and testing. The rest are really just the same, with the application being to quality rather than food safety. Now, we're about to get into section 6. We've got an hour to go. I would suggest that we just take a 2-minute coffee, smoke, comfort break. So it says on my clock that it's 1 minute before the hour. We will start at 1 minute past the hour. Are we all sitting comfortably? Then I'll begin. I should have realized that it's evening for you guys, and it's still morning for me. So, excuse me. For some of you, it may not have been a coffee break. It may have been an alcohol break. But if that's the case, then we'll get more questions coming in on text. Okay, session 6 of the quality course is measuring and controlling quality using the HACCP method. This has been pulled out of the implementing course because we cover HACCP for quality in inverted commas currently within the implementing course. It's been pulled out of the implementing course. It's been put in here. It's also been added to because we now have more detailed requirements within the SQF quality code for the application of HACCP for identifying and controlling quality hazards. So again, we go through preliminary steps, threat identification, quality threat analysis, and again, rather than hazards, we tend to use the term threats. Risk analysis matrix for quality threat, which is not a mandatory, it's just an example of. Control measures, CQPs, etc. We follow the HACCP methodology. So again, the difficulty becomes for a lot of people identifying what their quality categories are. Fairly self-evident with food safety because you're covering microbiological, biological, chemical, and physical. Our main concern there is where do you fit allergens. With quality categories, it's sometimes more difficult to assess what the categories are. And this will vary, this will be customized for different industry sectors. So we've considered issues like physical characteristics, microbiological characteristics, this is non-pathogenic, shelf life related, chemical, again non-food safety related, organoleptic, packaging, labeling, service, there may be others. There may be less in some sites, but to identify what their categories are for identifying quality threats. The food quality plan, and this is straight out of the quality code, developed, effectively implemented, maintained in accordance with the Codex Alimentarius Commission HACCP method. We still get inquiries saying, why are we using HACCP for control of quality hazards? The answer to that is to refer them back to Codex, where it does allow for HACCP to be used for quality hazards as well as food safety hazards. The food quality plan may be combined with or independent from the food safety plan, and that is generally dependent on the size of the facility. Small facilities may have a combined one. Larger ones will tend to separate them out, but must separately identify quality threats and critical quality points from food safety related issues. So if sites do have a combined HACCP plan that covers food safety and quality, our requirement is that food safety hazards are clearly identified and CCPs are clearly identified as against CQPs. Quality plan shall outline the means by which the site controls and assures the quality attributes, etc., etc. This is a fairly simple plan of the Codex HACCP methodology, and where you will find the references within the SQF food quality code. And it's basically from 2433 down to 24316. Covers all the steps in the HACCP process and identifies them for quality. So step one, assembling the food quality team. I'm not going to go through the Codex requirements, you already know that, but just identify some of the quality code elements. 2433, developed, implemented, maintained. The food quality plan may be combined with or independent from the food safety plan. We already said that. Scope of the food quality plan shall be developed in documentation, including the start and end point of the process under consideration. The scope of the food quality plan may be different from the food safety plan, in which case the food quality plan would need to be independent. Describe the product. Oh, I haven't included in here the slide on the references to the team, But again, our requirement is that the team may be different from the food safety HACCP team, in which case, again, it needs to be an independent food quality plan, and may include marketing, customers, other representatives of the supply chain that are subject matter experts that can contribute to the food quality plan. But the team approach, again, is required for food safety as it is for food quality as it is for food safety. Describe the product. Product description shall be developed and documented for all products included in the scope of the food quality plan. This shall include information on the finished product specifications plus any additional quality or service attributes established by agreement with the customers. So again, it comes back to this point of not all quality attributes are identified in the specifications. They may be in other documentations, in contracts, in agreements, etc., including service attributes. Intended use of each product shall be determined and documented by the food quality team. Shall include as appropriate target consumer groups, ease of use by the consumer, consumer instructions, tamper evidence, and other applicable information affecting product quality. So again, intended use may and probably will be different from intended use within the food safety plan. Process flow diagram may be the same as in the food safety plan, or may, if the scope is different, the start point and end point is different, may be different. And so the food quality team can use the food safety process flow diagram as a template, but needs to review that and ensure that all steps and inputs and outputs in the process that are significant for product quality are included within the process flow diagram used in the food quality plan or plans. So again, food quality team shall review the flow diagram and confirmed as part of the food safety plan and ensure process steps, process delays and inputs that impact product quality are included. Just in terms of language used, and again, I've touched on this before, within the food safety codes, we use the term hazard, and they are defined biological, chemical, physical agent. In other words, the Codex definition of hazard. Non-conformance, non-compliance raised against an element of one of the SQF food safety codes. In the quality code, we use the term threat. Identified risk that has the potential, if not controlled, to affect the quality of a product, does not cause illness, and deviation is, as I indicated, a non-compliance raised against the SQF quality code. Threat identification, step 6, or principle 1, threat identification, threat analysis and control measures. All potential quality threats need to be identified. Shall identify and document all quality threats that can reasonably be expected to occur. And that is why, if you go back to session 2, it's important to go through that process of identifying all the quality attributes that apply within a particular site, and therefore the threats that can apply to those particular attributes, not just rely on what is currently in the specification. Excuse me, I've just got to answer a call. Threat analysis. The food quality team shall conduct a quality threat analysis for each identified quality threat. The methodology for determining threat significance shall be documented and used consistently. We give an example of a threat matrix, but we don't prescribe that threat matrix is used. The threat matrix, or the methodology for determining threat significance, is entirely up to the site, as long as it is used consistently to assess all potential quality threats. And threat control, the food quality team shall determine and document the control measures that must be applied to all significant quality threats. More than one control measure may be required to control an identified threat, and more than one significant threat may be controlled by a specific control measure. That is consistent with the approaches taken in Codex and in the food safety plan, just applying it to quality threats. This is the example of the threat matrix that we use. Again, stress example. We're not suggesting that businesses have to use this. We're not mandating it. It is an example, and it's one that we use within the training course as one of the activities. But it is up to each site to identify their own quality threat matrix or methodology. It may not be a matrix. And to customize it for their use and to consistently use it throughout the development of the food quality plan. This one again uses frequency and consequence, common through to practically impossible. In terms of consequence, from commercially insignificant, doesn't really matter, up to business ceases. For some reason, United Airlines just came to mind there, but I don't know why. But this is, again, just an example, needs to be customized for individual sites. Determine critical quality points. They can be called CQPs. I know in some quality plans they call them QCPs. We don't care, it doesn't matter, as long as they're clearly differentiated from CCPs, from critical control points. Based on the results, the food quality team of the threat analysis, the food quality team shall identify the steps in the process where control must be applied to eliminate a significant threat or reduce it to an acceptable level. Those of you familiar with Codex HACCP will identify that that is basically the requirement taken out of Codex but applied to the quality hazards, quality threats. For each established critical quality limits, for each identified CQP, the food quality team shall identify and document quality limits that are that separate acceptable from unacceptable product. Again, that definition would be, or that terminology would be fairly familiar with the two. The food quality team shall validate the critical quality limits to ensure the designated level of control of the identified quality threats, and that all critical quality limits and control measures individually or in combination provide the level of control required. These elements are obviously taken straight out of the quality code. Develop and document procedures to monitor CQPs. Identify the personnel assigned to conduct testing, the sampling and test methods and the test frequency. And corrective action. The food quality team shall develop and document deviation procedures that identify the disposition of affected product when monitoring indicates a loss of control, and also prescribe actions to correct the process steps to prevent recurrence of quality failure. Determination, corrective actions must document 4 parts: return to process control, determination of root cause, disposition of the product, and prevention of a recurrence of that particular problem, as it does with food safety. In verification procedures, it is in 2.5 within the SQF quality code. Again, it tends to reflect the requirements of the food safety code. Verification activities shall include those necessary to authenticate critical quality limits, process controls, and other quality tests. Verification activities shall include activities designed to ensure the effectiveness of process control and quality tests, etc. Corrective and preventive action, again within 2.5, verification procedures should include the identification, corrective and preventive action methods shall include the identification of the root cause and resolution of non-compliance of critical quality limits. And verification activities shall include a comparison of process control limits plus or minus 3 sigma with specification limits to ensure alignment and appropriate process control corrections. Now, we did get some feedback, some comments back in the public comments on why we are specifying 3 sigma. If 3 sigma is not appropriate, again, nothing here is mandatory. It is all as applicable. So if 3 sigma is not appropriate and a site uses other process control limits, then that's fine. That's okay. We don't have to take it literally. Product sampling, inspection, analysis, processing parameters, and in-process measurements. This is not just quality parameters. Processing parameters shall be established, validated, and verified at a determined frequency. Laboratories and inspection stations shall be equipped and resourced to enable testing. Statistical process control methods shall be used to effectively control and optimize production process to improve process efficiency and product quality and reduce waste. This should be reduced without the D, waste. Control charts shall be in use for control of key processes and have defined upper and lower control limits. That doesn't say that control charts have to be used for all processes, but the requirement is for key processes. And in terms of product inspection analysis, a sensory evaluation program shall be in place to ensure alignment with agreed customer requirements. So sensory evaluation is important and should be monitored and measured. Internal audits include food quality plans, process controls, and quality tests, and staff conducting internal audits need to be trained in internal audit procedures, obviously, and have knowledge and experience in the quality processes and process control methods. Documentation control and records, the methods are responsible for, it's much the same. Document control and records are much the same as we have in the food safety codes, maintenance, storage, and distribution of quality documents, authorization and accessibility and retention and storage of records must include the quality records as well as food safety records. So, Session 7 in the SQF quality code, the SQF quality training course is improving product quality, covers process capability, applying some simple statistical process control SPC measures, including X-bar and R charts, some of the tools to assist, and the principles of continuing improvement, etc. Again, it comes back to improving product quality, the PDCA approach, the Deming approach, or the Shewhart wheel, as it's originally called. If you can't describe what you're doing as a process, you don't know what you're doing. Deming was a little bit sort of black and white. We should work in our processes, not the outcomes of our processes. That's the Deming approach. How do you apply it within food plants? We do some work on this one. There's a number of slides actually connected with this one on the 4 different options. Top left, the process easily meets the specification limits, in which case, what do? You leave the specification limits there. If the process consistently meets those specification limits, shouldn't you be working to reduce the specification limits or reduce the variation between the specification limits so that you're more competitive in the marketplace? Top right, process comfortably meets specification limits. Bottom left, process only just meets specification limits. Any shift or spread will result in failures. And the bottom right is process does not meet specification limits. We take some time in the class to go through this and try to establish where many of the attendees are within that framework. Are they top right, top left, bottom right, bottom left? And the simple fact is that many of them don't know because they're not measuring it. They do see some failures coming out of the processes, but they're not actually measuring to see what their process capability is. We talk about statistical process control, which generally scares off a lot of people, but we do talk about it in terms of the Shewhart approach and the Deming approach, and look at simple control charts to identify common causes of variation and special causes of variation. Of course, common causes are causes which are intrinsic to the process and are always present. And special causes are causes which generally stem from external sources. So we talk about that, and again, what applies within particular industry sectors and sites. We look at control charts, simple control charts, just with single points and establishing upper and lower control limits. We reference back to some of the website articles, particularly ASQ, on the use of control charts. And I think I've still got it here. Have I got it here? No, I don't. Unfortunately, I've taken that slide out of this presentation. But there is one where we have a simple Excel example that we hand out in class. There's a little YouTube video that shows them how to develop control charts from single samples, and we work through a simple Excel flow chart, control chart with that particular example. And then we relate it to XBAR charts, which are average and range charts, and how they can be used, and also look at to a limited extent at attribute data. But mainly we're just looking at XBAR charts, in other words, average charts, and moving range charts, and giving them simple examples of those, and ask them where they could apply them within their particular facility. Not covering all processes, but covering their ovens, their filler heads. Some filler heads now actually measure that themselves in part of their software. But how they acquire that data and how they use that data. This is a reference to that particular YouTube video, which we use within the class. You can use control charts to controlling ongoing processes. We're finding correcting problems as they occur. We used to use them as well to compare shifts, not so we could pick on people, but so we could consistently apply the process. Predicting the expected range of outcomes, looking at the process control limits versus the specification limits, determining whether a process is stable, whether it's changing over time or it is being consistent over time, and analyzing other patterns from the special causes or common causes. So we spent a lot of time discussing the use of some of these simple process control tools and where they could be used within their sites and processes and facilities. We also talk about the confusion between limits, because we talk about control limits, which are process control limits, upper and lower control limits that are generally plus or minus 3 standard deviations from the statistical mean. We talk about specification limits, which are boundaries agreed between suppliers and customers that determine this is what we want. We want a product that is between the lower specification limit and the upper specification limit, and the connection between process control limits and specification limits. And then, of course, there's critical control limits, which are within our food safety plan, and critical quality limits, which are in our quality plan. So we look at the relationship between these and also the interconnection, particularly between process control limits and specification limits, and how one can influence the other and can result in product that meets specifications, doesn't meet specifications, or where the specifications can be adjusted with the process control limits. And again, example of an XBAR and R chart and how it can be applied. So the last section in the quality course is managing quality, or the quality of management. And I was looking at what is quality management, Deming's 14 points, and management commitment within quality management systems, because all standards, including SQF, have requirements on management commitment and how they're applied and how they're measured. This is a quote that I've used a lot of times, which comes from Frank Yanis, most of you would be familiar with, who's with Walmart. He's no longer a GFSI director. I should take that out of there. Used to be a GFSI director. And it applies to food safety, but it also applies to food quality. And basically what he's saying is that the soft stuff is still the hard stuff. We do a lot on the technical side. We do a lot on the floors, walls, and ceilings. We do a lot on the HACCP plan, on the technical requirements and the specifications, etc., on identifying and controlling them. But we don't identify the issues related to human behavior and culture, which has led, I guess, to some of the discussion on food safety culture within the food industry, which is good. And if you take Frank's quote here, if you look at foodborne disease trends over the past few decades, it's clear to me that the soft stuff is still the hard stuff. We want to make dramatic improvements in reducing the global burden of foodborne disease, especially in certain parts of the food system and world, until we get much better at influencing and changing human behavior. I think it's a very applicable quote, and it's also applicable not only to food safety, but to quality and quality management. In the SQF codes, we say words to the effect that the site shall provide evidence of its commitment to implement and maintain an effective SQF system and to support its ongoing improvement. SQF expects management commitment to and involvement in, not just commitment to, not just saying the words, but involvement in and participation in the Food Safety Code and the SQF Quality Code. We have tried to beef up the requirements within both the Food Safety and the SQF Quality Code, so there is more participation by senior management in the application and the implementation of both the Food Safety Code and the Quality Code. But that's only part of the discussion. The issue really is how quality management in this context influences the behavior, attitudes, and operation of employees and workers and processes within that facility. Quality management is the application of quality management principles can help to measure organizational culture so that gaps can be identified. We know all that. It applies to food safety, it applies to quality management. What we're not good at is implementing it, measuring it, or improving it. These are the ISO quality management principles. And one of the suggestions we'd make is that you include that PDF document within the course materials. It's back in 2012. It's similar to what was the Baldrige Awards principles. Out here it was the Australian Quality Award principles, etc. In looking at customer focus within a facility, of leadership within a facility, of the involvement in people and influencing behavior and effectively using their knowledge and creativity, in taking a process approach, which is what we've been talking about as part of this training course, to improve the quality of the output control and improve the process and reduce variability. Excuse me. To take a systems approach to management, identifying, understanding, and managing interrelated processes as a system. To look at continual improvement as a strategic imperative, not just will improve the processes, but improvements that are plan-driven and not just event-driven. In other words, they're proactive, not reactive. Taking a factual approach to decision-making, the effective use of data, information analysis, and creating knowledge from that data. One of the things, again, historically we have found in running this course is that a lot of people don't understand what is happening within their processes because they're not measuring, they don't have that data, so they're not using that information to collectively improve their processes. They're just taking their processes as is. This is what we get out of it. This is all we can get out of it. Sometimes it's going to meet specifications, sometimes it's not. If it's not, we'll rework it, we'll downgrade it, we'll use it somewhere else, etc. But taking a factual approach to decision-making is something we want to encourage. And having mutually beneficial supplier relationships throughout the supply chain with our suppliers back through the system and with our customers further up through the system. These are the ISO related quality management principles. There's a nice little booklet which was issued in 2012 along those lines. There's other variations on those principles that you can find through different sources. We take the position that an effective organizational culture is just as important as the technology you have in place within a site and with the standards and systems that you have within the site. And that the difference between an effective, workable food safety management system or quality management system and an ineffective one is the level of leadership and how that influences the attitudes and behaviors. And it's an effective food safety. I realize we've got food safety here. I need to change the slide to quality. Is an integral part of an effective food safety and quality management system. The two are not mutually exclusive, and a positive culture is necessary for the system to work. Now, when you talk to people about that, they say, yeah, but that's very well, but we've got what we've got. What is in place is in place. We're not going to change leadership. We can't influence the management. How do we go about changing so that we get some traction, we get some improvement in improving the quality and productivity of our processes? We asked them in class to do a little quick survey of how the organization, the site, rates against the ISO quality management principles. And we have the full set of quality management principles available, again, through customer focus, leadership, etc. And to discuss that, and out of that, to look at how they can start to influence change within their organization, if change is necessary. And sometimes it's taking little steps. Sometimes it's just identifying individual processes and starting to work on those and showing how starting to measure and the process control and reduce process variation will improve the quality and reduce the cost coming out of that process, and taking that evidence to management to say, listen, here's our evidence, we need to widen this out. Sometimes it can be taking little steps. Again, it needs to be customized for different industry sectors and different sites, depending on the leadership within that organization. But this exercise and this activity in session 8 is really about starting that discussion and thinking about, are they just going to accept things the way they are? Are they just going to try and implement the SQF quality code and get certified and say, well, we're now a quality organization? Or are they going to start to make real change within their particular site and facility? For some, that's very hard, and for some, it is obviously quite easy. It needs to be customized per site. So a review and summary of where we are with this organization is, again, we looked at the journey through identifying quality attributes through to quality management. There's a lot more. I think this is slide number 114. I think it's probably more than that in the original. There's something like 200 slides in the original deck. We've only sort of hit upon some of the highlights in this short section. But to give you an idea of the concepts behind it, it's looking at the quality journey through quality attributes, through the quality control, and what some of the tools are that are available, using HACCP for quality, using the cost of quality, using some of the statistical process control tools, into a quality management scenario. Overlaying that is the implementation of the new Edition 8 SQF quality code. And asking and challenging people who attend this course to look at where their site currently fits within the quality management journey. Are they back at quality attributes? Haven't even considered those. Are they right up with quality management? Where do they fit? Where does it want to be? Does it want to be quality certified? Does it want to be a quality organization to be? What does it want to be part of the continuous improvement cohort? And how do they get started? So a lot of this is about discussion and discovery and challenge of where they want to get to. Again, as I said at the start, it is not just about getting certified to the SQF quality code. Yes, we want that. Yes, we want clients to do that. But it's about starting in the quality journey and continuing in the quality journey until they have processes under control and they're meeting customer expectations. So that, I think, wraps up the course.